All right, so to start this afternoon, we're going to take some time to chew on what we've learned this morning and think more on how to put it into practice. So here's a recap of the 4 big ideas that we want to saturate our classroom environment with. Greg talked to us this morning about growth mindset messages, and Chelsea talked about the 3 high expectation messages. This is important. You can do it, and I won't give up on you. Viviana talked to us about effective effort, and we want to make sure students measure their success based on their own growth. Now, a great way to begin to saturate the environment with these messages is through your green sheet or syllabus, and that is where we're going to focus our energy right now. So the feedback that we get from teachers in the district who've taken the Skillful Teacher course is that one of the most powerful things they've done is to revise their course syllabus by embedding it with the 3 high expectation messages. The reason this has been so effective is that not only is the syllabus the first important communication with your students and their families that introduce your course and set the tone for the year, but in revising the syllabus, teachers have had to re-examine policies that they've developed and held near and dear for years, and come to recognize that some of those policies were actually at odds with the growth mindset message. So the act of revising the syllabus led to revising the way they run their class, which also automatically led to speaking to students differently about learning. So we think this is a great starting point for saturating your classroom environment and are excited to get this conversation started today so that you can start strong with high expectation messages on day 1. So we want to do an exercise right now that will help you get started in thinking about this. Second-year teachers, this will be familiar. We did this during your new workshop last summer. However, I think with the year of teaching experience under your belt, you'll be able to look at these through a new lens. So on your tables, there should be a handout with 4 late work policies, and these are examples of late work policies from different teachers' syllabi. And each of these is really typical of something you might see in many teachers' syllabi from around the district. So for each late work policy, what I'd like you to do is work with a partner and talk about these questions. What kind of message is each policy sending? To what extent is each policy supporting or at odds with the 3 high expectation messages? What concerns might you have about establishing each policy? And which policy best exemplifies the 3 high expectation messages? So again, I'm going to give you about 8 to 10 minutes to work with your partner on this. So I'm sure what you found is that with these policies, we can see that they really fall in a continuum, where at one end we have policy A, where we're really sending the you can do it message, but not the I won't give up on you message. And then on the other extreme, like policy D, we're really emphasizing the I won't give up on you message, but at the expense of the you can do it message. And ideally, we want to strike a balance where we're able to effectively send all 3 high expectation messages and not lean mostly toward one or the other. Now hopefully this is reminding you a little bit about something we spoke about at the Skillful Teacher Day 1 orientation in May, and that's the tenacity continuum. Remember, I had you identify what you felt was your most natural spot on the continuum and then discussed that highly effective teachers are going to say that it depends because we move back and forth across this continuum, matching our level of chasing or being tough to student needs and striking a balance between the two so that we can both send the messages of I won't give up on you and you can do it. The skill in teaching will always be matching your move to the context at hand and constantly doing this balancing act. So how does this work when we are looking at our green sheets and thinking about our policies? Well, there are 2 things that I want you to consider when you think about your own green sheets in a few minutes. The first is I want you to consider matching to groups. Your 9th grade bio students have different needs than your 12th grade physiology students, so our policy should reflect this. So when you're creating your syllabus, make sure you have your intended audience in mind and that you're matching your policies to the students' needs. The second way we need to consider this is when we write our policies is that we want to make sure we have the flexibility within each policy to meet individual student needs within our group or class. So we want to be careful about creating policies that are a one-size-fits-all approach. So for example, I'll go back to the late work policy A that we were just looking at. If we tell our students in our green sheet that no late work will be accepted, what will we do when we have a student or students that would benefit from an extension and who need to hear clearly that we won't give up on them? Do we make that exception? How often are we willing to make that kind of exception? And if we make these exceptions to our policy of no late work often, then we won't be taken seriously, and why have the policy at all? So we really need to be thinking carefully about what our policies are and what messages they send, because when we create policies that focus on all three high expectation messages, we're better able to move along this continuum and match to our students' needs. Okay, so with all of that in mind, we're now going to give you the next 30 minutes to review your green sheet and jot down ideas for how you might revise it to embed the big ideas we've discussed today. And because we want you to get the most value out of these next 30 minutes, we're going to give you a choice in how you would like to spend your time. So you have the option to either work alone or in collaborative groups or partners. And we have a tool that we've developed that we think may help you when revising your green sheet. This form can be used as a peer edit sheet if you want that kind of feedback, or it can be used as a guide to help you look more closely at your own policies. You can answer all of the questions or bounce around and talk about the ones that interest you or challenge you. But I would like to challenge you to push yourself to work with others if you're leaning toward working alone. I know for myself that I always prefer to work alone, but get so much more out of what I'm doing when I can get feedback from others. So with that, I'm going to turn you guys over to your own green sheets. The mentors will be walking around if you have any questions or need any help.